Okay. We are chilling. Okay. I need streamer to be up. Streamer.bot. Do we have... I guess I wasn't... I should have had this up. I was going to test all these things. Action history. This was earlier, right? No? Monitoring start. Okay. I see. So monitoring is related to StreamerBot. So it's monitoring currently. And that's YouTube, right? Our YouTube is logged in. All right. Nice. So I think we should be good. Once this ends, the goal is for it to archive the stream. It didn't do it yesterday, but I think we're going to be good. Oh, 2 out of 2? Wow. Okay. I think we're chilling. All right, so I wanted to do this today, but I also want to finish this stuff up, and I think it's going to be kind of lame to come back to this stuff after we do it for 3 days in a row. So I might just do it again. Let's just read through more. We've got one more. Maybe we could skip anything that we've already seen. Like maybe I'll try to go through this more quickly. And if we have extra time, then we'll just start on experience over time. And we could also do that quickly. We don't have to read through it. We just need to find anything that I might want to change before the filming on Saturday. So, without further ado, let's get it. All right, so this was the conclusion to what we were reading yesterday, which was ChatGPT's deep research on, that's great, on on all this stuff, our unique minds. Same thing that we've asked each one so far. All right, so drawing all these strands together, it's clear that human uniqueness in worldview and goal pursuit is multifaceted. Your genetic inheritance gives you a starting set of predispositions, perhaps a quick mind or a calm temperament. But even those are modulated by developmental quirks and epigenetics, ensuring you're one of a kind biologically. Your upbringing and culture then adds layers, teaching you, for better or for worse, how to interpret the world and what to strive for. That's a cool... for better or for worse. On that foundation, develop your personality traits, cognitive styles, and internalized beliefs, which together form the lens through which you see opportunities and obstacles. Finally, your motivational makeup, the fire in your belly and the control at your fingertips, dictates how you turn perceived opportunities into real achievements. Crucially, no two people have the exact same combination of these factors. That's why even in identical situations, individuals chart different courses. Science supports this with findings ranging from twin studies showing the interplay of nature, nurture, and sheer chance to psychology experiments demonstrating how differently people respond to the same cues based on mindset. For example, genes affect not just traits, but even the way we understand and react to the social world, as one review put it. And yet, environment can dramatically rewrite outcomes, as seen when a change in context boosts a child's IQ or ambition. Each person truly is a unique case study of one forged by countless interacting influences. From a self-help perspective, understanding these dimensions of uniqueness is empowering. It means that finding what makes you tick, your strengths, your motivational styles, your values, is key to setting the right goals. It also means areas that feel like weaknesses, say low confidence or poor focus, are not set in stone. They often have causes in mindset or habit that you can improve once identified. The science suggests several leverage points. For instance, building self-efficacy and an internal locus of control can make you more proactive and persistent. Cultivating a growth mindset can change your willingness to embrace challenges. Even traits like conscientiousness can be strengthened through routines. Finally, appreciate the uniqueness, that uniqueness is a strength. The world benefits from people who understand and approach it differently. It leads to diverse goals and innovations. One person's natural caution can prevent disasters in a plan, while another's bold vision can break new ground. Teaming up those complementary styles often yield the best results. On an individual level, your unique constellation means your route to success may not look like anyone else's, and that's normal. Some achieve goals through slow and steady discipline, others through bursts of inspiration and creativity. Some discover their passion at 15, others at 50. The important thing is the alignment of your goals with your unique self and context. When you align them, you unlock motivation that feels almost effortless because it fits who you are. In summary, what makes you unique in how you understand the world and pursue your goals is everything: your genes and brain, your experiences and culture, your traits and beliefs, all interacting in complex ways. Science is gradually illuminating pieces of this puzzle, from the genetic influences on ambition to the cognitive differences in perceiving uncertainty, giving us insight into why each person charts a distinct path. By learning from those findings, you can better appreciate your own unique makeup and leverage it rather than fight it as you identify and chase your goals. This mix of scientific evidence and practical understanding ultimately serves one goal: helping you author the story of your ambitions in a way that is uniquely yours, effective, and fulfilling. And then sources. The information above is drawn from a wide range of research, twin studies, blah, 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 while neuroscientists like blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I actually I was going to delete this, but I was thinking I might actually mark to keep the summary here. It might be useful to leverage some of the wording there in the document. I kind of liked it. All right, then we've got our one last deep research from Gemini here. The architecture of agency and integrative analysis of biological, cognitive, and sociological determinants of goal pursuit. And this should be slightly different in its scope. This report serves as the foundational research synthesis for a proposed book regarding the origins of individual uniqueness in goal pursuit. The central thesis posits that an individual's ability to understand the world, identify opportunities, and pursue goals is not a singular trait, but the emergent property of a complex, layered architecture. This architecture is composed of biological substrates, neurochemistry and genetics, cognitive control systems, cybernetics and personality, developmental history, attachment and life history strategy, and sociological structure, habitus, and capital. By analyzing over 160 distinct research artifacts, this report moves beyond the simplistic dichotomy of nature versus nurture to propose a biopsychosocial phenomenological model of agency. We establish that the world a person perceives is not an objective reality shared by all, but a subjective horizon of possibility defined by specific affordances. These affordances, the action possibilities available to an agent, are rendered visible or invisible by the interaction of the agent's dopamine, dynamics, executive function, epigenetic calibration to stress, and internalized social norms. The analysis explicitly excludes the narrow domain of entrepreneurial commercialization to focus on the broader existential capacity for agency, the human ability to protect oneself into the future and act to shape it. To project oneself into the future and act to shape it. The report is structured to provide deep theoretical grounding, empirical evidence, and actionable frameworks for understanding human uniqueness. Okay, I kind of like what's going on here. What did I do? Can we just remove 5? And then I said, can we add one more section on further resources that cover all or a subset of these topics, which I researched for my book, right? Okay. And does it tell us how long it took? No? Okay, well, let's get at it. I kind of like the bend that this one is taking. I think it'll be a nice difference. To understand why individuals differ in their capacity to set and achieve goals, one must first descend into the neural machinery that generates the impulse to act, the will, and the capacity to sustain that action, the way. The brain is not a passive receiver of information, but a predictive engine designed to reduce the discrepancy between a current state and a desired future state. Okay. The biological variances in this engine constitute the first layer of human uniqueness. All right, the two-component framework of behavior change. Research in consulting psychology and cognitive neuroscience has increasingly coalesced around a bipartite framework for parsing goal-directed behavior. As articulated in foundational reviews of the field, successful goal pursuit requires the synchronization of two distinct neural systems, the motivational system and the cognitive system. Wow. Okay. That's kind of new. So, where would this be? This is like levers of agency. I'll grab both of these, get them in here, get one of those. All right, the motivational system, the will. The will is driven primarily by the mesolimbic dopamine system, often colloquially termed the reward system. The system centered on the ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens is responsible for assigning incentive salience to environmental stimuli. It answers the question, is it worth doing? All right. And we have a lot for that system already, right? Maybe not here, but we will. Reward learning. The brain learns to predict rewards based on past errors when an outcome is better than accepted. Okay, so we already covered this in part 1, but I'm going to just gank it anyway. Self-reliant relevance. The motivational system is also heavily influenced by the degree to which a goal is perceived as self-relevant. The medial prefrontal cortex, a hub for self-referential processing, interacts with reward circuits to energize goals that align with one's identity. Unique differences in the will are often traceable to baseline differences in dopamine receptor density and the reactivity of the VTA. An individual with a hyperreactive mesolimbic system may experience intense bursts of desire and motivation, wanting. Perceiving the world as rich with inviting opportunities. Conversely, an individual with a hyporeactive system may intellectually understand the value of a goal but fail to recognize the visceral drive required to initiate motivation. Very cool. The cognitive system, the way. The will provides the engine, the way provides the steering. This system relies on the executive functions housed primarily in the lateral prefrontal cortex. It is responsible for the how of goal pursuit. So we got working memory, the ability to hold the goal representation in mind over time, especially in the face of distractions. Inhibitory control, the capacity to suppress prepotent responses, habits that conflict with the long-term goal. Cognitive flexibility, the ability to shift strategies when a current path is blocked. The divergence between... Okay, so the question I want to ask is... we need to discover the scope of these executive functions. How agreed upon is this lineup? The divergence between these two systems explains a common archetype of human frustration, the individual with high will but low way. The person is characterized by ambitious goal setting and intense initial enthusiasm, but suffers from rapid abandonment due to an inability to sustain the cognitive load of planning and inhibition. Conversely, the high way, low will individual may be a competent bureaucrat of their own life, capable of execution but lacking the spark of selection. All right. The central role of dopamine in agency. Wow. Okay, what am I doing here? Is this... This was supposed to be... No, I think we're at the right spot. Okay. The central role of dopamine in agency. All right. Is the neuromodulator par excellence of agency. Wow, it performs double duty in the regulation of goal-directed behavior, bridging the gap between motivation and cognition. Okay, so this is actually taking us a little farther than the previous ones. The gating function. In the striatum, dopamine regulates the gating of information into working memory. It acts as a threshold setter. Right, so this is all stuff that we kind of talk about in part 1. Tonic versus phasic dopamine. We did not get to this in part 1. Tonic dopamine levels, the background baseline, influence the stability of neural representations, while phasic dopamine bursts signal the arrival of salient information. Okay, that I guess we kind of covered just without the wording. What's the double duty? Dopamine modulates the contents of working memory, keeping the goal in mind, while simultaneously supporting the decision-making about effort, determining if the goal is worth the mental cost. And then we've got ads theory. A groundbreaking theoretical development in understanding uniqueness is the agency disinhibits the dopamine system theory. This theory posits a bidirectional relationship between the psychological sense of agency and the biological availability of dopamine. Now we're getting to the stuff, I feel like. Assuming this is legit. Proposes the feeling of having control over one's action, disinhibits the dopamine system, leading to increased tonic dopamine release and positive effects on motivation. Increased tonic, the background baseline that influences the stability of neural representations. So it allows you to keep at it. Was it like here? No, this is way too new. But it's probably from something. Unless this is, oh, maybe this is literally it. This was probably just the pre... do we have a name on this? Or is this just pointing us towards the actual thing? Zetzer? Yep, okay. Agency is the sense that one has control over one's own actions and the consequences of those actions. So this is kind of crazy that Gemini's picking up 2024 articles. Despite the critical role that agency plays in the human condition, little is known about its neural basis. A novel theory proposes that increases in agency disinhibit the dopamine system and thereby increase the number of tonically active dopamine neurons in the ventral tegmental area. I don't know if that's tegmental, but that would be crazy. The theory, called ADDS, proposes a specific neural network that mediates these effects. ADDS accurately predicts a variety of relevant neuroscience results and makes many novel predictions, including that increases in agency will A, increase motivation, improve execution, executive function, facilitate procedural learning, but only in the presence of immediate trial-by-trial feedback, have little to no effect on learning-related effects of stimulus repetition or standard eye blink conditioning, facilitate the development of automatic behaviors, but have little or no effect on the production of behaviors that are already automatized. Amplify the cognitive benefits of positive mood and reduce pain. Wow. Increased agency will reduce pain. So I guess we need to figure out what that we mean by agency here. But the implication of this new theory implications are considered for several purely psychological theories that assign prominent roles to agency, including self-efficacy theory, hope theory, and goal-focused positive psychotherapy. So this is a really important thing for us to read. Must read. Sweet. All right, the mechanism. The theory suggests that the subjective sense of I am the cause of this action activates a specific neural network that disinhibits the dopamine system. Specifically, disinhibits. Let's just make sure we know what's going on here. Make something less inhibited. Thank you very much. The inability to withhold. So, an inhibited would be unable to act in a relaxed or a natural way because of self-consciousness or mental restraint. Hinder, restrain. So, unrestrained. Disinhibit would be like, let the dopamine fly. Now, does ADHD medicine inhibit dopamine release so that it's more stable? Is that what's going on there? We'll research that eventually. All right, so I'm gonna just gank all this stuff, this good stuff. The virtuous cycle. This creates a positive feedback loop. High agency leads to higher dopamine availability. Higher dopamine availability in turn enhances motivation, improves executive function, and facilitates procedural learning. The agent feels more capable, acts more effectively, and thus receives feedback reinforcing their agency. Jesus. The vicious cycle. Conversely, a lack of agency, perceived helplessness, results in lower dopamine availability. This biological downregulation manifests as reduced motivation, poorer cognitive control, and a foggier perception of the world. The world literally appears less affording of action to a low dopamine brain. This theory provides a biological basis for the phenomenon of momentum in human life. Success is not just psychologically encouraging, it is neurochemically enabling. The unique individual who seems unstoppable may be operating with a dopamine system that has been primed by a history of high agency experiences. Wow. Okay, let's just bold all of that. All right, genetic variance in exploration strategies. So this was all under this central role of dopamine. Genetic variance in exploration strategies. While dopamine dynamics fluctuate, genetic polymorphisms provide a stable hardware setting that biases individuals towards specific strategies of exploring the world. Okay. The trade-off between exploitation, optimizing known rewards, and exploration, seeking new uncertain rewards, is fundamentally regulated by the COMT and DRD2 genes. Wow. This is some new stuff. I feel like we've been hitting old stuff, or not old stuff, but stuff we've already heard before in the previous deep researches. But this is some new stuff. All right, so COMT and the prefrontal cortex, the stabilizer. The COMT gene regulates the enzyme that breaks down dopamine in the prefrontal cortex. All right, so let's actually get all this stuff. The warrior-worrier dichotomy. That's hilarious. All right. We've got MET/MET. Oh, I don't know enough about genetics to know what that means. The worrier/planner. Individuals with this variant have lower COMT activity, leading to higher synaptic dopamine in the prefrontal cortex. This results in superior working memory, focus, and stability exploitation. However, it is also associated with higher anxiety and a tendency to get stuck in ruminative loops. Their unique worldview is one of detailed depth and risk aversion. So the question is, like, is there anything we could do about this stuff? Or is this just information about what we might have? Like, do we I don't even know if we learn what genetics we have in this granular sense, and if we could, I don't know if we would want to. Like, what does it gain us? If there's like a, I mean, I guess there isn't like a good or bad outcome here. It's like, it seems like the, well, actually, no, this seems just bad. So we'll see. All right. The warrior explorer. Individuals with this variant have higher COMT activity, leading to lower synaptic dopamine in the prefrontal cortex. This results in greater cognitive flexibility and resilience to stress, but lower stability. They are prone to random exploration, trying new things without a clear plan. Okay. Then we've got DR. D2 and the striatum, the learner. The DRD2 gene influences dopamine receptor density in the striatum, the center of reinforcement learning. Learning and feedback variations here influence how quickly an individual learns from positive versus negative feedback. Some individuals are no-go learners, learning best from avoiding punishment, while others are go learners, learning best from seeking reward. This fundamental bias shapes whether the world is perceived as a minefield to be navigated or a treasure map to be explored. So that one seems a little bit more beneficial to know about. If you could identify that you are prone to one of those, then you would be able to perhaps strategically cater your learning around that fact. All right. Epigenetics. Here we go. Stuff we've already talked about at a surface level. The environment, calibration of biology. The nature component of uniqueness is not a fixed script, but a dynamic interface. Epigenetics, the chemical modifications of gene expressions without altering the DNA sequence, serves as the mechanism by which the environment calibrates the biological machinery of agency. So, stress response and the horizon of possibilities. The hypothalamic and pituitary adrenal axis governs the body's response to stress. Its sensitivity is attuned by early life experiences via epigenetic methylation of key genes. So this is giving us like the deets behind the big five. Like this would determine where you score in neuroticism. At least that's what I'm guessing. Research indicates that early life adversity, neglect / trauma can lead to increased methylation of the NR3C1 promoter region. This reduces the number of glucocorticoid receptors, impairing the negative feedback loop that shuts off the stress response. The result is an individual who is biologically hyperreactive to stress. So that would be high neuroticism. Implications for goal pursuit. For a hyper-reactive individual, the cost of uncertainty is biologically amplified. A neutral situation, for example, a job interview, a blank page, triggers a threat response rather than a challenge response. This effectively shrinks the horizon of possibility. The unique worldview of such an individual is characterized by a prevention focus. The primary goal is safety, not expansion. So yeah, we have to consider how far we want to go into this stuff, but Mainly, or not mainly, but also because this is kind of controversial stuff to say out loud. All right, the serotonin transporter. The interaction between the serotonin transporter gene and the environment further refines this calibration. The short allele. Individuals with the short allele of 5, blah, 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 are more sensitive to environmental inputs. In supportive environments, they thrive and may even outperform peers. Dandelions versus orchids theory. However, in stressful environments, they are significantly more prone to depression and risk aversion. This genetic sensitivity means that two people can experience the same childhood environment but emerge with radically different capacities for agency. Wow. Yo, I got a catamaran? Hell yeah. What is poppin'? We're doing the same thing for the third day in a row. Though this deep research that Gemini made seems to be way more in depth to things that I have never heard before. So I'm trying to really get this stuff down to figure out also what we should be putting in the document. This stuff might be way too in the weeds, and it's not as practical, I don't think. So we will see. Or we already have part 2, the cognitive architecture of pattern recognition. If biology provides the fuel in the engine, cognition provides the operating system. It determines what information is attended to, how it is processed, and what patterns emerge from the noise. Neurodiversity and cognitive styles represent distinct architectures of thought, each offering a unique interface with reality. All right, neurodiversity as specialized search strategies. Here we go. We're finally on. Okay. I was surprised that none of these actually talked about neurodivergence as a topic. So here we go. Let's learn about it. All right, so neurodiversity as specialized search strategies. Never trust Redditors who give out advice for real life situations. True. Also, yeah, you never know if what they're talking about is real when people give stories. Yeah, it's tricky. Like Reddit is a very odd system where certain opinions get to the top. Like I wish there was a better system to poll people and like just about random things. Like if instead of just Reddit comments, there was like an actual way to add a poll to a Reddit post. Like that would be kind of nice. All right, the pathology paradigm of neurodiversity, viewing conditions as deficits, is increasingly being replaced by an evolutionary ecological paradigm that views them as specialized cognitive strategies. Right, these strategies fundamentally alter how an individual identifies opportunities. So we got ADHD, the hunter's mindset. Whoa. I didn't realize I was a hunter. A lot of things are actually very simple. It's kind of a bar to just throw out there. All right, attention deficit hyperactive disorder is often characterized by an inability to regulate attention on linear tasks. However, in the context of opportunity recognition, the ADHD profile confers specific advantages often described as the hunter phenotype. Interesting. Broad versus narrow focus. While the neurotypical mind excels at top-down attention, filtering out the periphery to focus on a goal, the ADHD mind has a leaky filter. This allows for the intrusion of peripheral information. In complex, changing environments, this distractibility manifests as hypervigilance to novelty and anomalies. The ADHD individual is unique in their ability to spot weak signals that others ignore. Okay. Nonlinear association. The cognitive impulsivity associated with ADHD facilitates rapid, long-range associative thinking. This allows for the connection of disparate concepts, the essence of innovation. Studies suggest that individuals with ADHD traits score higher on measures of innovativeness and entrepreneurial orientation, driven by a high tolerance for risk and a biological drive for stimulation. Okay, so far this is checking out. Hyperfocus. Paradoxically, when intrinsic interest is triggered, often by high stimulation or novel tasks, the ADHD brain can enter a state of hyperfocus that exceeds neurotypical capacity. This oscillation between scanning the horizon and intense drilling down creates a unique rhythm of goal pursuit, broadly exploratory followed by intensely obsessive. All right. It's a bar day today. I'm writing the maxims. Hell yeah. We got to publish the maxims. All right, dyslexia. Shout out dyslexia. All right, dyslexia is fundamentally a difference in information processing, often characterized by a trade-off between phonological processing, sequential fine-grained, and visual spatial processing, holistic coarse-grained. Okay. Global processing. Research suggests that dyslexic individuals often excel at global processing, seeing the big picture or the gist rather than the details. This predisposes them to identifying macro opportunities or systemic flaws that are invisible to sequential thinkers. Narrative and delegation. Because the standard path of literacy-based learning is high friction, successful dyslexic individuals often develop compensatory strategies. Compensatory? Is that how you would say that?
Compensatory.
Okay. Often develop compensatory strategies that rely on social agency. They learn early to delegate tasks and rely on oral communication, storytelling, and persuasion. Their way of pursuing goals is inherently collaborative and narrative-driven rather than solitary and procedural. Okay. Autism, the systemizer. The emphasizing, systemizing ES theory provides a framework for understanding the autistic cognitive profile. Systemizing is the drive to analyze the variables in a system to derive the underlying rules that govern it. The deterministic worldview. A high systemizer looks for input-operation-output correlations. They seek to understand the if-then logic of the world. This makes them uniquely capable of identifying opportunities in domains that are lawful and deterministic. That, yeah, honestly, that would... I wonder how that coincides with like the like norms of language. Like, would someone on the autism spectrum like be more attuned to, like, I'd imagine, wouldn't you be more attuned to like social norms in that case? The search for truth. Unlike the neurotypical mind, which may smooth over inconsistencies for the sake of social cohesion, the autistic mind is often driven by a need for exactitude. Or is it like, yeah, is the over focus on the exact norms something that actually leads you to potentially act out of norm. This truth-seeking orientation allows for the identification of inefficiencies and errors that others accept as just the way things are. The opportunity horizon for a systemizer is a landscape of systems waiting to be optimized. All right. I got over 100 on the RADS-R. Interesting. What is the RADS-R? That sounds impressive, though. Okay, I see. Oh, is that supposed to be a joke then? Is it literally a thing out of 100? I keep getting borderline on the autism tests. Very nice. All right, cognitive styles, field dependence versus independence. Beyond clinical diagnoses, the dimensions of field dependence and independence represent a continuum of perceptual style that shapes how individuals separate an object from its context. Wow. So we've got cognitive style and worldview. Okay. Let's just throw it here. Oh, I don't know how we're gonna get a table here, but field dependent, context bound, perception is strongly influenced by the surrounding field. Can't see the trees for the forest. Analytic perception is separates the item from the background. Can't see the forest for the trees. I see. So implications for uniqueness. Two individuals entering the same meeting room enter two different worlds. The field-dependent individual perceives their web of relationships, emotional states, and power dynamics. Their opportunities lie in diplomacy and connection. The field-independent individual perceives the logic of the arguments, the structural flaws in the plan, and the data. Their opportunities lie in analysis and strategy. Conflict arises when an individual pursues a goal suited for one style using the tools of the other. All right, so figure out how important / prominent this is. I feel like the people in this chat got a bit of the tism. Yeah, I don't know if it's just kind of like a thing where people just assume everyone's kind of on the spectrum now in one way or the other. The Asperger's, what is that specifically? First of all, how do you spell this? Asperger's, okay. Label that was has been merged with other conditions into autism spectrum disorder. It is no longer a diagnosis. It was considered milder than other diagnoses which were merged. Due relatively unimpaired spoken language and intelligence. Okay. All right. Is distinguished by a pattern of symptoms rather than a single symptom. It is characterized by qualitative impairment in social interaction, by stereotyped and restricted patterns of behavior, activities, and interests, and by no clinically significant delay in cognitive development or general delay in language. Intense preoccupations with a narrow subject, one-sided verbosity, restricted prosody and physical clumsiness are typical of the condition but are not required for diagnosis. Okay. It's high functioning. Okay, that's it. I don't think they should have done away with the diagnosis, though. The famous can stacker. The famous can stacker. Was that what we just saw? Because that's incredible. All right, personality as a cybernetic control system. Okay. There's a cybernetic big five. Personality traits are often treated as static labels. For example, I'm an introvert, but modern psychological theory reconceptualizes them as parameters of a dynamic control system. Here we go. I feel like we're getting some new stuff here. All right, let's get this right here. Personality. I don't even know what a cybernetic control system is. And like how recent are we looking at here? 2014. It's not new at all. Cybernetics, the study of goal-directed adaptive systems, is the best framework for an integrative theory of personality. Cybernetic Big Five theory attempts to provide a comprehensive synthetic and mechanistic explanation model. Constructs that describe psychological individual differences are divided into personality traits, reflecting variation in the parameters of evolved cybernetic mechanisms, and characteristic adaptations, representing goals, interpretations, and strategies defined in relation to an individual's particular life circumstances. The theory identifies mechanisms in which variation is responsible for traits in the top 3 levels of a hierarchical trait taxonomy based on the Big Five, and describes the causal dynamics between traits and characteristic adaptations. Lastly, the theory links function and dysfunction in traits and characteristic adaptations to psychopathology and well-being. All right, I did not completely understand all that, but I think we want to link that, bold that, and read that. Personality traits are often treated as static labels, blah, blah, blah. The cybernetic Big Five theory integrates personality with the mechanics of goal pursuit, explaining why people differ in their strategies. Here we go. Look at this. We got some new stuff. All right, cybernetics and the feedback loop. A cybernetic system is any self-regulating system that uses feedback to steer toward a goal. It consists of goal activation, selecting a target, action selection, moving toward the target, error detection, comparing the current state to the goal state, correction or end correction, adjusting behavior. The Big Five trait. Okay. The Big Five traits map directly onto these functions, creating unique tuning settings for the human cybernetic machine. Okay, this is interesting. Should we figure out which is which? Selecting a target, action selection, moving toward the target, error detection. All right, so error detection has to easily be. Oh, did I miss one? No, there's 4. Oh, okay, so this isn't gonna line up evenly. I was gonna say error detection seems to be. I was gonna say neuroticism, but it's a mix between neuroticism and openness and agreeableness. I don't think introversion, extroversion would be involved, and conscientiousness would be involved, right? They might all be involved. Who knows? All right, I don't think it maps up like that. I have a suggestion related to science. It's good. Let it rip. Okay, plasticity, exploration. I see what's going on here. Plasticity, exploration. Plasticity represents the drive to engage with novelty and encompasses extroversion and openness. Okay. So we know about extroversion and we know about openness. But let's just read them anyway. Extroversion rewards sensitivity. This trait tunes the gain on the dopamine reward system. High extroverts perceive potential rewards, status, excitement, social connection, as more salient. Their will is easily triggered. They pursue goals with high behavioral velocity. Openness/intellect. Information sensitivity. This trait tunes the drive for cognitive exploration. High scores identify opportunities in abstract patterns, aesthetic experiences, and novel ideas. They are uniquely capable of pursuing goals that have no immediate material reward, but offer high information value. Very cool. What is the theory by Michael Levin of what intelligence is? Do we know Michael Levin? Have we heard that before? Boost my day. Michael Levin. Oh, we've seen Michael Levin. We've seen Michael Levin recently. I don't remember why. Michael Levin's theory of intelligence is radically broader than the traditional view that equates intelligence with brains, neurons, or complex human thought. In Levin's framework, intelligence is not a property of a specific biological structure like a brain, but a functional competency. He defines intelligence as the ability of a system to navigate a problem space to reach a specific goal, regardless of where it starts or what obstacles are placed in its way. This definition moves intelligence away from thinking and toward goal-directed behavior, allowing it to be applied to... Is that what teleology means? I see. Yeah, wow. To everything from single cells and tissues to organs, organisms, and potentially even synthetic life forms. Intelligence as navigation of problem spaces. Right? So yeah, once you get into this level of abstraction, like this is like a certain lens through which we can abstractly identify, you know, different systems. But yeah, it opens up what the definition of intelligence means, and you know, it's just one way you can go about it. In the multi-scale competency architecture, biology is not just a hierarchy of parts, it is a hierarchy of agents. Levin views an organism as a collective intelligence made of smaller intelligences, right? I mean, this is all like very much in line with the whole homeostasis argument. Not argument, but the perspective. Where everything is kind of operating in this regulative, not state, but activity. And it doesn't really realize that it's part of a much larger homeostatic activity as well. Like our cells are literally just following the instructions that are given to them. Okay, so every cell of life is a holon. It is a whole contained within a larger whole, right? Each level is competent at solving problems in its own local space. A single cell solves metabolic problems. A tissue solves geometric problems. The whole animal solves behavioral problems. All right, bioelectricity, the cognitive glue. If an organism is a collection of billions of tiny cell agents, what keeps them working together rather than competing, which results in cancer? Levin identifies bioelectricity as the mechanism that binds them. Okay. Non-neural bioelectricity. Long before neurons evolved, all cells used ion channels to communicate electrically. Gap junctions. So another thing to point out is it's not just the communication in the moment, but it's also DNA. It's also straight up evolved DNA. Like the DNA is telling them how to communicate. It's really the DNA at the end of the day that's keeping everyone in line. That like the different parts of your body can't break those rules. Like they physically couldn't break those rules unless, you know, something sabotages them. Gap junctions. Cells connect via gap junctions, effectively sharing a mind. When cells are electrically coupled, they share signals so rapidly they can no longer distinguish me from you. They become a we. I don't think they don't distinguish anything in the way that we think distinguish, so that might be a little ambiguous. Scaling up. This electrical connection allows a group of cells to store memory of a larger pattern. The bioelectric network stores the target morphology, the goal state. The cognitive light cone. Levin uses this metaphor to describe the size of a mind. The cone, it represents the spatial and temporal range of the goals a system can pursue. A single bacterium has a tiny cognitive light cone. It cares about sugar here and now. It cannot care about what happens 3 feet. So this is another like interpretive thing. Like the cone is simply a nice metaphor for us. All right. TAME, technological approach to mind everywhere. Levin's overarching framework, TAME, suggests that since intelligence is so, okay, if this is something you would actually push, that intelligence is about, like, he defined intelligence here, you know? It's like this framing of intelligence is about this. Yeah, but we got to be careful here. We can treat biological, synthetic, and artificial systems with the same engineering toolkit. It depends, right? It depends. Just because things are goal-directed doesn't mean that they have everything in relation to each other. But yes, there's things that we could treat, or there's certain toolkits that we could treat each of these with at a certain level of abstraction. Like you'd have to be at the level of abstraction that the very definition of intelligence is about. Persuadability. Instead of trying to rewire a system, we should learn to persuade it. Right. But you persuade things by rewiring them, I think. But perhaps this is a more zoomed out perspective. It's like, what could you behaviorally do to persuade the system, to rewire the system from farther out? Instead of genetically editing a flatworm to grow a second head, Levin's lab used bioelectric signals to change the memory of what the body should look like. The cells then built a second head on their own. They were persuaded to build a different... Okay, so this is literally, you're getting in there and you're messing with fundamental systems in such a way that it thinks something that the DNA doesn't usually let it think. So, yeah, fair enough. Intelligence is the 15-year-old atheist on Reddit. Hell yeah. It's what we're all... That's our foundation. That's what we're all founded upon. All right. So, okay. Summary table. Nice. Pretty cool stuff. All right. We got plasticity behind us. We've got stability protection. So this has to be, this has to be neuroticism. Without a doubt. Whoops. Stability represents the drive to maintain order and encompasses neuroticism, conscientiousness, and agreeableness. Neuroticism, this trait tunes the sensitivity of the error detection system. High neuroticism means the system triggers a mismatch alarm at the slightest deviation from the plan. While this can be paralyzing, it also creates a unique capacity for prevention, focus, goals pursuit, anticipating and mitigating risks that others ignore. Here we go. Now we're getting some good back and forth. Conscientiousness, goal protection. Curious if there's a negative here. This trait tunes the ability to shield long-term goals from immediate impulses. It is the enforcer of the system. High scorers perceive the world as a place of cause and effect where disciplined action yields guaranteed results. Their unique strength is implementation intention, the ability to turn a vague wish into a concrete plan. Okay, then we got the motivational engines. BIS and BAS. And what would this fall under? Underlying these traits are the primal motivational systems defined by Gray's reinforcement sensitivity theory measured by the BIS and BAS scales. BIS, BAS. Okay, the behavioral activation system, BAS, the GO system, it responds to signals of reward and non-punishment. Person with a dominant BAS is propelled by hope and elation. They often underestimate risk because their attention is locked in on the prize. The behavioral inhibition system, the STOP system, it responds to signals of punishment, non-reward, and novelty. A person with a dominant BIS is arrested by anxiety and caution. The unique gas brake ratio. Every individual operates with a unique ratio of BAS to BIS. I feel like we talked about this yesterday. Maybe we do have it somewhere. High BAS, low BIS. The daredevil identifies high risk, high reward opportunities, pursues goals aggressively, vulnerable to impulsivity and failure to learn from punishment. Whoa. Low BAS, high BIS. The guardian identifies threats and safety nets, pursues stability, vulnerable to missed opportunities and stagnation. High BAS, high BIS. The anxious achiever. Intense drive to succeed coupled with intense fear of failure. This conflict creates a unique high energy, often neurotic productivity. So what would this make me? Oh, did we not get this guy in there? And then the BIS, it responds to signals of punishment. So I would be low BIS, probably. And I would be high BAS, maybe. Low BIS, high BAS. The daredevil, nice. Pursues goals aggressively, vulnerable to impulsivity and failure to learn from punishment. Very nice. All right, part 4, the developmental trajectory, history. The biological and cognitive hardware is calibrated by history. Developmental psychology illustrates how early interactions with caregivers. All right, here we go. We saw this yesterday. So I might, unless this thing goes deeper into these topics, I don't think we're going to need to really go into it again. Where would this have, where did we put this stuff? Epigenetics. Frame, now where do we see like early development? What is this all under? Whoa, this has to be under the individual differences, which makes sense. Our unique minds, right? All right. The biological and cognitive hardware. How far are we down now? Middle. And cognitive hardware is calibrated by history. Developmental psychology illustrates how early interactions with caregivers and the environment establish the internal working models that predict how the world will respond to our needs. Attachment theory, the template of support. Attachment theory is not merely about relationships, it is about the secure base from which exploration is launched. So we did talk about attachment somewhere. Attachment theory. Bowley and Ainsworth demonstrated that the quality of the caregiver bond sets the parameters for adult exploration. Secure attachment. The secure base effect. Secure individuals internalize a belief that support is available if needed. This allows them to explore the world with confidence. Goal pursuit. They are more likely to set mastery approach goals. Okay, so this is new stuff. Oh, no, never mind. This is the same stuff. Learning for the sake of learning. I'm going to just kind of add this for this wording here. Anxious, preoccupied attachment. Their goals are often performance avoidance or approval seeking. They pursue goals not for the intrinsic value, but to secure validation from others. The anxiety of potential failure and thus rejection drains cognitive resources from the task itself. Dismissing avoidant attachment. The absent base. These individuals have learned that support is unavailable. Wow. They value extreme self-reliance. They only identify opportunities that allow for solitary work and autonomy. They may reject valuable collaborative opportunities because dependency feels dangerous. Their uniqueness lies in their capacity for solitary persistence, but they are brittle when a task exceeds individual capacity. Yikes. All right, life history theory, calibrating time horizons. Evolutionary psychology offers life history theory to explain how early environmental harshness and unpredictability calibrate the trade-off between somatic effort, growth/maintenance, and reproductive effort, mating. Okay, this manifests psychologically as the distinction between fast and slow life history strategies. This is a little insane. So a fast life history strategy. If you're in an unpredictable, harsh, resource scarce environment, time horizon short term, the future is uncertain, so take what you can today. High risk taking, preference for immediate, smaller rewards. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. We should mention this, right? Evolutionary psychology. Oh, I see. This is... Jeez. Consider whether we actually want to go into this. Man, evolutionary psychology always provides the most controversial stuff. Synthesis. Uniqueness and goal pursuit is often a rational adaptation to one's developmental zip code. The individual who struggles to save money or plan 10 years ahead may not lack willpower, but may be operating on a fast setting calibrated by a childhood where long-term planning was a fool's errand. Conversely, the slow strategist perceives the world as a stable bank where effort compounds, a luxury of their developmental predictability. Yeesh. All right, the sociological context, structure. The individual does not exist in a vacuum. The will and the way operate within a structured social space that defines what is valuable, what is possible, and what is for people like us. Wow. All right, this is sociological context. Habitus. The internalization of structure. Pierre Bardot's concept of habitus is the most powerful tool for understanding the sociological limits of agency. Habitus is the set of ingrained dispositions, skills, and tastes acquired through socialization. It is history turned into nature. Okay. Interesting. This is like, perhaps this is a more holistic view that would offer us a contemporary let's just say holistic / contemporary. The horizon of possibility. Habitus functions as a pre-reflexive filter. It defines the unthought boundaries of a person's life. A child of working class parents may not consciously reject the idea of becoming a classical violinist. The idea simply never enters their horizon of possibility. It's not that it's not for the likes of us. It's that it might not even enter the mind, right? Bodily hexis. Habitus is encoded in the body and posture, accent, and way of walking. These bodily signals act as gatekeepers. When an individual enters a field, for example, a corporate boardroom, that matches their habitus, they feel like a fish in water. Action is intuitive and fluid. When there is a mismatch, the individual experiences hysteris, a feeling of awkwardness and friction. The friction consumes cognitive bandwidth, leaving less energy for the actual pursuit of goals. Okay. All right, we got capital and the rules of the game. Here we go. We're back on our Marxist arc. Bardot argues that social life is a series of games or fields, each played with different forms of capital. Okay, let's not get into that whole type of thinking, but I do like the idea of pointing out that economic capital is certainly relevant, social capital is relevant, and cultural capital is relevant. The unique advantage. An individual's uniqueness is defined by the volume and composition of their capital. Okay, so now we're starting to get like into it's starting to sound like a stringent rule set, but cultural capital is vision. High cultural capital allows an individual to decode the world. For example, understanding the unspoken rules of a networking event or the aesthetic codes of a luxury market allows one to identify opportunities that are literally invisible to someone lacking that capital. Okay, fine. And oh, that was cultural capital. Social capital is leverage. The strength of weak ties theory suggests that opportunities travel through weak social connections. An individual with a diverse social habitus has a broader sensor network for opportunities than one whose network is insular. Okay. Socioeconomic status and the scarcity mindset. There we go. Look at that. Low SES exerts attacks on cognitive bandwidth. The scarcity mindset hypothesis posits that the constant management of insufficient resources captures attention, leading to tunneling. Focus is narrowed to the immediate crisis. This inhibits the ability to attend to peripheral or long-term opportunities. The unique goal pursuit of the poor is often characterized by reactive crisis management rather than proactive strategic planning, a direct result of environmental constraint on executive function. The bioecological model, nested systems. Okay, we don't have this, but I think I'm gonna take a 5-minute break, and then we're gonna get back to this. All right, BRB. Okay, back to it. Socioeconomic status. We just read all this, right? So the bioecological model. Nested systems, which I've not heard before. Bioecological model reminds us that the agent is embedded in nested systems. Microsystems, immediate relationship. Okay. A major component of uniqueness is temporal privilege, being born at a time when one's specific natural aptitudes are valued by the macro system. High systemizing coder mind, born in 1990, has a radically different opportunity horizon than the same mind born in 1890. Okay. I don't know if we need to go into that one. That's kind of... This is a little too intuitive or just like self-evident. Phenomenology, the synthesis of uniqueness. How does this all feel? Okay, so this is stuff that we're probably not going to add in, but this is going to be fun. Phenomenology moves from the objective measurement of mechanisms to the subjective description of the lived world. This is where uniqueness is experienced. Maurice Merleau-Ponty argued that the fundamental structure of consciousness is not I think, but I can. The body is our anchor in the world. The intentional arc. The world is projected around us based on our capacity to act upon it. This actually we might want to like talk about in like literally in part 1. Maybe when we get to our orientation. Something like here. Oh, I should have done this on references. Should I go references or should I go necessary? Let's just do references and that, and then maybe add something about the intentional arc. The world is projected around us as based on our capacity to act upon it. A wall is not an obstacle to a parkour expert. It's a path. All right, so that's very similar to what we say literally in this subsection here. Skill acquisition is world building. As we acquire skills, we literally change the world we live in. We expand our intentional arc. Uniqueness is the sum of the skills one has embodied, which illuminates specific facets of reality while leaving others dark. Okay. I don't know if we would talk of in that way, but... All right, Gibson's affordances, the lock and key. J.J. Gibson introduced the concept of affordances, action possibilities that exist in the relationship between the actor and the environment. So we do include that in part 1. Ontology of opportunity. An opportunity is not an object, it's an affordance. A steep hill affords climbing to a fit person, but affords exhaustion to an invalid. To an invalid? Jeez. A social gathering affords networking to an extrovert, but affords anxiety to an introvert. The unique landscape. Therefore, no two people live in the same affordance landscape. Your unique understanding of the world is a map of your affordances, the specific hurdles the world offers to your specific biological and social configuration. Hope theory, the cognitive capstone. C.R. Snyder's hope theory synthesizes these elements into a cognitive construct that determines how easily one pursues goals. Hope is defined as the sum of agency, will, the determination to initiate and sustain action, and pathways, way, the ability to generate routes to the goal. The high hope phenotype. High hope individuals are unique because they are high pathway thinkers. When an affordance disappears, a door closes, they spontaneously generate new pathways. This cognitive flexibility is supported by the dopamine system and the secure developmental history. Low hope individuals perceive the closed door as a terminal state. Yikes. Conclusion, the unique agent. The question... Oh, there we go. Okay, the question, what makes you unique and how you understand the world and your opportunities, can now be answered with precision. Your uniqueness is the output of a specific, singular configuration of the agency architecture. We got biological energy. We got cognitive filter. We got developmental calibration. We got sociological structure. And we got phenomenological grip. To understand your opportunities is not to look outward at the market, but to look inward at this architecture. The world is not a fixed stage. It is a dynamic responsiveness to your specific capacity to act. You create your horizon of possibility by the very act of engaging with it. Yo, Darmadon, what's good? We are just chilling. We're doing the same thing we did the last 2 days, just reading through more of these research things. But this one, the others didn't give us. We got annotated by bibliography and further resources. The following resources represent foundational texts and key research papers for further investigation into the domains covered in this report. Okay, I see. So we actually already wrote some of these down because I was just interested in it. Agency, okay, yep, we did write this one down for sure. Genetic variation in dopamine genes and exploration. I'm curious which ones are the newest. So this is crazy new, the ADDS framework. Cybernetic Big Five, we looked at that, 2015. Behavioral inhibition, behavioral activation, and affective responses. Snyder, the Psychology of Hope. Zimbardo, 1999, The Time Paradox. These are pretty old, though. Sociology. Well, we talked about. They talked about scarcity. I'm curious why we were not seeing anything in the 2013 range for that. But nice, cool stuff. Bro, I had in mind that Gemini was stupid, but I think that was like 6 months ago. I heard it's cracked now. Yeah, Gemini's winning a lot of the races at this point. Gemini's kind of popping off, and I guess it makes sense. Google's just kind of, they got a ton of data and resources, and they're not operating at a loss right now. You know, they're one of those companies that gets to just burn money in one area because they're making so much money in another. So, you know, I imagine they went out over OpenAI, but we'll see. I guess, yeah, OpenAI has their, like, they might have some sort of 12 Days of Christmas thing like they did last year. That might be fun. But they have to really wow people in order to get back, because Gemini really took the lead on that. And apparently we don't even have the new, like the newest Gemini model that will probably come out soon, I should say. Like, chances are all these companies have models behind the scenes, but I think they mentioned that another model is coming out somewhat soon. And I think they just released it today for like the people who are paying a ton of money for a higher level of service. The ultra tier. Okay, so yeah, the phenomenology stuff, the scales, and assessments for self-research. Okay. All right, I think I'm going to call it on that one. Very nice. Now, if I could, all we need to do before I call the stream is maybe do a quick look through experience over time. I think that stuff can be hit or miss. Right. Remember the hype around GPT-4. Yeah, and even GPT-5, it's like they were making it seem like it was going to, you know, I mean, they obviously just overhyped it. But the next big leap will be crazy. Yeah, I mean, honestly, all the most recent models that have really freaked me out in some sort of way, or made me like be like, wow, this is actually awesome. Oh, do we have one of these things? Okay, 1 second. All right, I think I'm back. They have all been from Google. There was the Genie 3. This is Google. The idea that you could just start walking in like real time, walking into a world that was created via a prompt. Like that's and this is insane. The fact that the world will actually respond to where you're walking. And one of the coolest ones was when someone was walking in like a puddle, and it looked down and you could literally see the feet walking on the puddle, and that's just insane. It's not in VR. It's like literally so yeah, I guess it's not in VR yet. I'm guessing that's where it's headed. But this is literally like you just have you literally just have like a WASD, and you get to control where the thing is going. So like this is being controlled by WASD right now. And if you were to just, the jellyfish is being controlled by WASD. If you, whichever way you go, it'll just kind of follow whatever you're doing. And the entire world that it's in, it's like, it's not even a game. It's literally just it's just like a world creation model. Like there's no like application yet for it. I mean, obviously there's a ton of applications for it, but there's no like game yet. Like this is just showing that they are working on stuff that is going to end up being like unlimited generation game. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Oh, and then the idea that you could put in you could actually put in commands, and it like the actor in this scene will actually do that. It's insane. Okay, and then Banana 3. Is it Banana 3? Banana 2? Nano Banana 2? These blew me away. The fact that you could just give it this prompt and it will just generate an image that it's doing everything now. This is like what you'd expect from the language model plus the video or the image model. The one that was crazy was this. This is insane. This blew me away. Because I think like people showed that if you just tried to get like ChatGPT to do this right now, it'll put stuff together, but the words on the paper will not be the same as the words that are on the ripped paper. But the fact that it can do something like this is kind of nuts. The fact that it could just start upscaling images like that. Like all of these things are crazy. And then I guess I don't know if Gemini like blew me away in terms of like it seems like Gemini and ChatGPT are kind of just they're slowly going up. So I don't think I was like blown away by like a huge leap for those. I think you know what? No, the voice I was blown away by ChatGPT's voice mode. That one. So that's a tick for ChatGPT. So yeah, we'll see what comes next. But all right, experience over time. All right, I might actually want to spend like I want to sit down and make sure that I vet the wording of this section of this major section. We just have to make sure that we get rid of this oil conundrum here. Oh, it's not even during this one. Okay, that's for conceptualizing our understanding. All right, we're chilling. We don't have to deal with the oil scandal of 2025. So yeah, I just need to get ready because I'm reading this. I'm filming on Saturday, just doing a read through of this one. So it shouldn't be crazy at all. And then I'm wondering if on Substack I should just start posting the part 1 content. On Substack I did post welcome to that. I did what is the Stan Richardson document with the overview and considerations. I think that is just the landing page. Right? Considerations. I don't think I did the introduction. Oh, but the introduction's not that long as well. What are we doing here? Oh, well, this kind of looks... No, this is landing page for sure. Determine the path in our life. All right, did anyone see this? If no one saw this, then it's probably not that big of a deal if I just post the introduction. Maybe just letting everyone know, hey, like I'm going to start posting some stuff. Maybe not. Maybe let's just start with part 1. Prologue, collective knowledge of the world. But yeah, I would like to get some feedback from Substack on the full thing. The only issue is that once we start getting into these longer major sections, I don't know if that's appropriate for Substack. Like, how many pages should a Substack post be? Should we try to go for the 10 pages? We could go up to that. Then we could go through that. Uh, 35 to 45, that's like a notion of predisposition, the formation of understanding, development and context. These are like separate posts though. Now we'll see. Maybe we just do posts of just the sections at a time. Okay. I might call it here. We got over all the notes, or we went through all the what makes each person unique, the context of you stuff. We've got a ton of stuff here. I'm gonna have to figure out how to start sifting through this stuff and seeing what we are missing and whatnot. But I think we'll be good. I think we'll be fine. I'm pretty happy about it. So, without further ado, thanks everyone for hopping in. And I will see you all. Actually, have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you all tomorrow.